you better. Andy has done so by helping enrich the lives of those less fortunate. That's how we'll remember him. And that's what it means to be a true blue champion. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the best in MTRA monster truck racing. Today from the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, it's the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. Hey, this is it, the final weekend of the Penda Points Championship and a shootout between the Bigfoot drivers, Andy Brass in the Bigfoot Cruiser and the Power Wheels Bigfoot with Dan Runte. It was only a few races back that Dan Runte took the lead from Brass. But in the 12th outing yesterday, transmission trouble put Runte on the sidelines after round one. So today, in what will be his final drive ever in the Big Blue Ford, Andy Brass holds a 450-point margin over Runte. Hey, anything could happen, and here with more in today's competition is Army Armstrong.
Gary, you talk about the best-case scenario. The people that bought a ticket today, they don't need that whole seat. They just need the edge of the seat because the Bigfoot boys are putting on a show of shows. They both made it through the first round. That means they're going to go against each other in the second round. But you got to remember one thing. In this sport, the quick loser of this round comes back. So they can race each other now and possibly race each other again. It's a good day to be at the monster truck races, Gary. Let's watch them go.
Well, Andy Brass was the fast qualifier. Dan Runte fifth fast. So Andy picked up 40 points right there. Could well be on his way to his fourth title in monster truck competition. Earlier in round one, Ray Borkowski, the Dodge Express, the far lane against the Bigfoot Cruiser, and it was all Andy Brass. Now, you noticed, Army, those qualifying times were really slow. They qualified earlier today. It's a sloppy race course here in the infield at the State Fairgrounds, and I think the speeds will increase as the program continues. Also, earlier from round one, Kurt Dabney, the far lane winner, the last race here at the Fairgrounds, but he gets taken out by Power Wheels Bigfoot, Dan Runte.
There's your other half of the main story we're talking about. You're exactly right. The weather is going to be dry for the rest of the day. It will only get quicker.
Pam Voders. Now, Pam upset Dan Runte in the last outing, but in round one, she was no match for Sampson and Dan Patrick. There's the 577 ET for the Sampson Chevrolet. Now, Magnum Force, the far lane with Don Van Loo. Gary Porter, the near lane, the Carolina Crusher. Once again, from round one, it was Gary Porter taking the victory.
Porter looked like he was back in his own form of National Championship a few years ago. The near lane takes the win, Gary. We've got a story developing here, and it's all coming out of the lane closest to you and I.
Well, Fred Schaefer served notice he could be the spoiler today. Also from round one, he takes the margin of Mark Hall.
Also out of the near lane. Let me tell you something. This qualifying, this previous quick round, quick time, is going to pay dividends because I wouldn't want to get in the far lane now. They've got me scared of this.
Well, the Snake with the second quickest pass so far. Round one, he takes on Paul Schaefer, and he takes out Paul Schaefer.
What lane was he in, Gary?
Well, let me guess.
The near lane.
The fastest one so far.
You folks following us at home now?
That means that coming up in round two, that man right there, standing with Bob Chandler, Dan Runte, will take on Andy Brass. Stay tuned. It's coming up next.
Wonder who goes in the near lane.
Welcome back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds here in Indianapolis. Hey, it's time to put away those toys. We've got the big boys out here. And there is Dan Runte. He is chasing Andy Brass in the point standings. In fact, Brass right now with 630 points to his advantage. So obviously Runte has to knock him out here and hope that Brass doesn't come back as the fast loser.
And Runte is in the bad lane. Andy Brass is in the good lane. If I was a betting man, we'd be going with the blue truck on
Put
that
a
one.
shilling on the blue one right now, right?
Well, you know, unless, and that's not taking anything away from Runte. He knows what he's going to have to do, and he's got the means to do it. But Andy Brass is a tough old hombre right now, and you could see the World Championship decided on this run, Gary.
Virtually identical trucks, identical equipment. However, a big difference right now, two. Experience.
Exactly.
And the lane choice.
Exactly. And both of them in the lane closest to you and I.
And the big blue.
Truck is going to the utter end.
If Andy wins, he is the champion in his final season monster truck competition, and he is the champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just seen Andy Brass win his 4th World Championship, and the race is not over yet.
Well, he has been so dominant here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds over the years. We talk about the weather and the rain and how he's been raining, but he's been on top of the hill. He's the king you want to knock off, and so far today it hasn't happened.
Well, like any kind of racetrack, you got tracks you have good feels for. I'm sure circle track guys feel the same way. He just feels comfortable at the Indiana Fairgrounds.
We take a look again, evenly matched right here over the second jump, and he pulls away for the victory. He's with Army.
Andy, I tell you what, we hate to bother you at a time like this. We know you're concentrating on the event. Does everything feel good to you out there today?
Yeah, the truck's feeling real good for us, you know. The lanes, we've just been watching the lanes, like I say. I'm just sitting here trying to keep my concentration straight, you know. Gary's been doing me a real fine job tuning my motor, you know. We found some glitches in it there earlier today, and it looks like we got them worked out. So the truck's working good, the track's coming around there a little bit, and I'm turning in some fast times. So I'm just trying to keep my concentration up and do a good job today.
Of course, Andy not content with the championship. He wants to win here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
And the Gary he was talking about was Gary Saline. The guy's done a tremendous job with his engine. Now, the crew chief on this truck, you recognize him? Who is he?
Well, Dan Patrick's the driver. Gene Patterson is the crew chief.
Patrick looks like he belonged on Wall Street with those glasses.
And there's a look at Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher.
Both of these guys have not had the greatest year. Patrick has put a win under his belt. Gary Porter, past national champion, it's been so hard racing he hasn't had a chance to upgrade his equipment. Both of them are looking forward to the winter. They're going to learn. They're going to put what they've learned to use, and we're looking forward to next year for them now that this national championship's been settled.
Look at the floorboard of the office space there in the Carolina Crusher.
That's how the drivers see. They actually look through that floorboard. A lot of people wonder about it. You cannot see in front of a monster truck for about 37 feet.
Well, I'd have my eyes closed anyway. It wouldn't matter.
Exactly. Hey, check this out.
Yeah,
Porter.
a bit of a surprise.
They call him Elvis. I don't know why, but Elvis put Samson on the trailer.
Elvis has not left the building.
No.
Gary Porter is back, a 5:49, not particularly fast, but again, it's a very slow racetrack here because of all the rain this week.
Meanwhile, Dan Patrick is looking for a sponsorship to pick up his engine program next year. They understand he's talking to a major corporation down in southern Indiana to make him some horsepower. He's got the chassis.
Fred Schaefer and Barefoot coming up, but first, let's go back to Army trackside.
Gary, what we're looking at here is the crews that are working, a nightmare crews over. Everybody's helping, the boogeyman helping Gary Porter. Now, underneath this driver, you really can't see it, is a brake caliper that pinches to stop the front wheels. Well, the brake pucks that are normally in that caliper fell out, so he didn't have any brakes on the front, no way to stop the front end from going. And the monster trucks at 10,000 pounds on a slippery track today, you got to have the front brakes. Now, Porter's worked so hard to get here. All these guys know how hard he's worked. They're going to try to help him get into that next round. But right now, these guys weren't helping. He'd be going home. Back to you, Gary.
Army, it's a valid point. It underscores the sportsmanship, and we've seen that before. These guys really help each other. It's a good family type of sport.
Well, that's the way it is in any kind of racing. You hear the word family. When you see the green flag or the green light, it's racing. But up until then, you help each other.
Snake bite. Colt Cobra, he even has some help on occasion. And there's Fred Schaefer in the Barefoot.
Schaefer would like to forget this year. They're doing a lot of research and development. They got the horsepower, the chassis. They missed the setup on it. But again, he's one of these guys that's going to go back to the drawing board and come out smoking for 95 or next year.
All right, you've got the Dodge against the Ford.
Ford in the near lane. What are we going to do here?
It's going to be Ford. Yeah, Ford takes the victory. And with the time that we're being told now, it would look like Runte will come back as the fast loser, a 5:44 for the snakebite truck, and a 5:74. So Dan Runte would come back as the fast loser, but still he's lost too many points to regain the lead and take the championship. We look again.
And Schaefer's trying a weird setup. He's leaving, I think, in third gear. Notice how he's powering it in mid-range.
Well, Snakebite takes the victory. Colt Cobra is down out of the truck now, and he's with Army Armstrong.
Well, Colt, it looks like you and the Carolina Crusher are going against each other next round. He's having problems, but you're saying you can whip the Hillbilly anyway.
Yeah, I do call him the Hillbilly now and again, among other things. But this next round is going to be a very tough round. We've been watching Gary's times, and we were afraid we were going to get up against him. You're only talking a couple of thousandths of a second and a lot of mud out there. It's going to be very interesting this next round.
And snakes like mud. Well, speaking of interesting, these two guys will square off one more time. We're coming back. The four-wheel Jamborees are part of the Special Events Performance Series featuring a weekend of four-wheel fun. Visit the manufacturer's Midway, and there's also several categories of show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out when a Jamboree will be coming to your area.
Well, welcome back to Indianapolis. I'm Army Armstrong along with Gary Lee, and we're getting down to the dirty part of the racing as the Bigfoot Cruiser goes against Bigfoot Power Wheels. Bigfoot. The Carolina Crusher Chevrolet goes against the Snake Bite Ford. And a moment ago, Gary, you talked about snakes like mud. Well, hillbillies like snakes.
Well, that's one bracket. Here's a historic bracket. These two guys have battled all season long for the championship. Andy Brass and Bigfoot. Dan Runte and Power Wheels. Andy Brass will retire after this race. His heir apparent is Runte. Well, talk about two guys that know Andy Brass well, Dan Patrick and Dan Runte. We talked to them earlier about his final race.
Well, Andy and I go back several years when I was his crew chief when I worked for Bigfoot. So, you know, we both learned a lot from each other. He's an excellent fabricator, probably one of my closest friends in the world. So I hate seeing him go, but you may see him with another team in the near future. Andy's one hell of a guy.
It's going to be kind of rough without him. He's moving on to NAS truck. I really think he'll do somebody a good job over there. I've been around Andy a lot. He knows his sport. He knows motorsports. And I just think he's an all-in-all good driver.
And he has just a tremendous fan following. And, of course, despite locking up a title, obviously he wants to put his teammate away right here and go in and win this particular event.
You're going to see what Andy Brass is like. So I guarantee you, he's not going to roll over. He's going to go through the doors of life kicking and screaming. He wants to go out a winner. And that's only natural. And Runte wants to beat him. You know, let me tell you, a lot of guys came to this race for one reason today. They knew it was going to be his last time in a truck, and everybody want to get the last piece of Andy Brass. You know, nobody's done it yet.
Very few drivers, very few racers can really say that they won their last event in whatever given series they were last in before they moved on.
You're exactly right. You know, it's history. The National Championship settled. Now it's for bragging rights, and it's going to be
Close.
Andy Brass.
Andy Brass, but it was close. Andy Brass slides to a stop. He knows he has the title in hand, and one more win here today, and he'll have this victory as well. So the Bigfoot Cruiser takes the measure of Dan Runte in the Power Wheels Bigfoot.
Runte, a 5:43 is a good time. He ran him hard. You know, nobody rolled over. That was real racing. Well, when you go to the Jamborees, you're going to see real racing all the time.
No matter what the track conditions may dictate, you've got a good show right here. That's how close it was. Andy Brass takes the victory. There is the margin of victory right there. As let's go down now trackside once again and visit with Andy Brass.
Anyway, let's talk to Gary. He said, you know, all these guys are giving 100% just like you have your whole life. How does it feel to go out there today?
Today, like I say, being the last race, it's really going to be, it's hard on me, you know, but like I say, it's my big thing today is try to at least win the last race of the year and my last race in the truck. So that's what I'm really gunning for. The Penda series this year has been a tough series. You know, everybody's been coming up. The times have been so close this year. You know, it was the first time that we got into the fours this year was monster trucks. Dan Patrick said it was the first one with the truck to come down, and I set the fast time this year with a 491, and this is just unheard of for these 10,000-pound trucks.
Well, coming up, there's a look at the snake bite, Colt Cobra, and he will take on Gary Porter. The snake bite's been in 3 finals this season. Can he make it 4? But remember, Gary Porter has had some chassis problems this weekend. Had to have the services of a welder. He's had some brake problems. Not a real great weekend mechanically for the Carolina Crusher. So the winner here goes against Andy Brass. And Andy is being congratulated there by his teammate Dan Runte as we take a look at the staging now with the Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter and Snake Bite.
You were talking about this race, Gary. There's another important factor you can't overlook, and that's lane choice. And this left lane is just paying dividends, and the right lane has been robbing these guys blind. Porter's in the right lane. I'm not saying advantage or disadvantage, but man, if I was racing, I'd sure want to get on the left side of this track. Porter's running good,
right
though.
there, but it is Snake Bite. So a pair of Fords in the finals, Snake Bite and Bigfoot. There's a 539 ET for Colt Cobra.
The last guy that could beat Andy Brass is Colt Cobra.
There's a look at Gary Porter's number, a 574. So the Snake Bite truck in the 4th final of the season. And he's standing by right on trackside with Army Armstrong.
Cole, you knew that Gary Porter was going to run you hard, but I think the lane had a lot to do with that win for you. Not taking anything away from you, but the lane worked good.
No, that's for sure. Gary had been running that lane. As you can see, it's been the fast lane all night. Luckily, we did have lane choice that had not more or less just a mental factor, but also it just doesn't have the traction there. We knew that, put him in that lane. With the Ford running the way it is tonight, I don't think we can lose.
We shall find out next. Hey, welcome back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds for the final race of the year. And hey, these guys in the tough truck competition will really let it hang out today. Here's the Iron Horse. Unfortunately, earlier he got DQ'd because he missed the tire, but watch the run.
I don't know what it is. You tell these guys are going to be on TV, they do weird stuff. What am I
like
saying?
Like the full moon.
That's right, see?
He totally misses it.
What tire? What tar? I didn't see no tar out there.
He just won his 15 minutes of fame.
Kenny Van Horn came out, though. He made a good run. Now, these are street drivable trucks, and he hit the tire.
And didn't do a whole lot. Well, he did a little damage to the right front headlamp. A little damage looks like the suspension.
But the Pink Panther had the crowd on their feet, Gary.
This is Earl Finley.
Fast Earl, they call him back home.
Watch this jump. A little air there, and he just does catch the tire, but he also does some axle damage. That's an expensive run because these guys are not racing for much in prize money. Back to the starting line, the final pass for Andy Brass, and just a bit earlier, Army spoke with our new champion.
Andy, I tell you what, it is for me. I know it's got to be for you. It's got to be an emotional time. This is your last ride in a monster truck. Your career is going to end in a few seconds. You're going to be the national champion. So how hard are you going to run this thing?
Well, we're going to run this one just like we did all day. You know, we come out here, run a consistent race. You know, we've been setting some fast times. You know, our time's been getting faster all day, so we're just going to come out here and try to beat a little faster than what we was last round, pull away from the stake, and nothing better would suit me than win my last race of the year.
Well, that's the best way for a driver to go out. The final race, Andy Brass takes on his old nemesis, Snakebite. And by no surprise, he puts Snakebite over there in that right lane.
And Snakebite's not afraid of the right lane. He says he's got a handle on it. Of course, if you're a snake, I don't get some mud would bother you. We've already talked about that. Both drivers work in the starting line back and forth. It's almost like neither one wants to go to the line first for the last run for Andy. You notice how they're going back and forth, and what they're doing really right now, it doesn't serve any purpose. They're just trying to get their rhythm going. Okay, I think Andy's going to go on stage first. There he is.
I think maybe his stomach right now is up in his throat.
I don't know. I'll tell you mine is, because this guy has been a class individual. We're paying his crew. They've worked so hard to get him here. Look at that. You think the intensity's not here? Man, you are wrong. Even the Snakebite crew goes over to stand with them because they know this is going to be a double throwdown final race for Andy the Man Brass.
There it is, the final pass for Andy Brass, the great champion after 9 seasons, takes the win. He goes out in style. A big round of applause. Congratulations all around in the pit area. Andy Brass, the Bigfoot cruiser, laying down a good one in this mud, a 5:22 to the 5:51 of Colt Cobra. So Andy Brass not only wins the championship for the 4th time, but once again he goes out in style by winning his final monster truck event.
As Coach B would say, don't quit, don't ever quit. You'll be a champion. Andy Brass is.
Coming at you from the end zone, the win goes to the big blue Ford on that right side of the camera. And here he comes down to the shutdown area for the last time. So Bob Chandler, Bigfoot, the organization, takes the national title. Brass is your winner, and he is climbing out.
Well, Andy, to all our friends on the National Network, I want to introduce you to Andy Brass, 4-time world champion. Way to go, Andy. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Army. I appreciate it. You know, it was like I say, it was a tough series this year, the Penda series. Everybody running, they was running hard, you know. Everybody coming up so much this year. You know, like I say, everybody's suspension got dialed in a lot more. Their motors, a lot of guys going with Linkos and clutches. And to come in here with a 2-year-old truck was really something for me to take the championship with it. You know, that was the only thing I had coming into the season because we had the truck pretty well dialed in from last year. But to do it 2 years in a row with the same truck, I'm just tickled pink.
Congratulations. 4 times a world champion. We're awfully proud of you.
Well, thank you, Arm.
Well, once again, let's take a look now at the final Penda Points Championship. The congratulations all around for Andy Brass as Andy takes his 4th title in 9 seasons. Dan Runte, his teammate in the Ford Bigfoot camp, goes 2nd. A Ford with Colt Cobra 3rd. Then it's Fred Schaefer in a Dodge and Dan Patrick in the Chevrolet. Then it's Paul Schaefer, Kirk Dabney, Gary Porter, Ray Porkowski, and Pam Botters rounding out the top 10. Well, I'm not sure that's the way I'd want to celebrate in victory lane. That may become a new tradition in monster truck racing. Our congratulations to Andy Brass for Army Armstrong. I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's news and exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.